Today on the Comic Book Report, I'm unboxing Marvel's Venomnibus Volume 1. I've had my eye on this hardcover collection of classic Venom miniseries for some time, so stick around and check it out. Greetings all, my name is Dominic and you're watching The Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. As I mentioned up at the top, today we're doing an unboxing video for the Venomnibus Volume 1. I picked up mine from Amazon.com. Now without further ado, time to get to that unboxing. Alright friends, and here we go with the unboxing. As I said, I picked mine up from Amazon, and as all of you collectors probably know, I'm holding my breath on this one. Amazon does not have the best track record on packing for these comic books, collections, graphic novels, hardcovers. Particularly the last few years, it's not uncommon to have almost no packing material. I've had several books I've had to return because of dings, breaks, rips, you name it. But I had some Amazon credit, so I was willing to give it a go. And I'm happy to report that other than some crinkling in the back end of the dust jacket, which may have even been a manufacturing defect, this thing is in perfect condition. I'm thankful to see that Amazon did use some of their bubble material, and overall it looks like this shipped really cleanly. As we look at the spine, you can see the stylization of the Venomnibus instead of the traditional Marvel Omnibus. I really like this detail. I think Marvel's only done it with this and the Marvel Zomnibus, which I do not own, but it's fun to see them get a little cheeky. Across the back of the dust jacket, you can see all of the covers represented of the issues in this collection, and there is a lot of them, mostly Venom miniseries and a couple appearances in various other series. Overall, it's a fun and very clean design for the dust jacket. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy I went with the standard cover as well. We got just a great look at Venom. And here's that standard cover art reproduced under the dust jacket. They also reproduced the spine, and then for the back of the under the dust jacket art, there is a gorgeous reprint of that almost all black Venom cover. I can't remember which issue this is for, but it's one of them in the collection here. And as I get this tucked away back into the dust jacket in a moment, I'm probably going to do some of the omnibus spine stretching. This is something I've seen online to kind of help loosen the binding, break in the book a little bit to overall help with the longevity of these books. As I do that, I will go ahead and read the contents of this volume because there are many issues. And here we go. The Venomnibus Volume 1 collects Venom Lethal Protector issues 1 through 6, Venom Funeral Pyre issues 1 through 3, Daredevil issue 323, Iron Man issue 302, Darkhawk issues 35 through 37, Venom the Madness issues 1 through 3, Venom The Enemy Within issues 1 through 3, Incredible Hulk vs. Venom number 1, Venom the Mace issues 1 through 3, Night Watch issues 5 and 6, Venom Knights of Vengeance issues 1 through 4, Spiderman The Arachnus Project number 6, Web of Spider-Man issues 118 and 119, Spider-Man issues 52 and 53, Venom Separation Anxiety issues 1 through 4, Venom Carnage Unleashed issues 1 through 4, and material from Silver Sable and the Wild Pack issues 18 and 19, plus Venom subplot pages. I think somewhere within all of that, Venom meets Spider-Man 2099. Maybe that's part of the subplot pages, I'm not sure, but it's a full omnibus. Okay, and now that we have that mouthful out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the collection proper. The first note I have, for those unfamiliar with Marvel's Omnibus line, these omnibuses are oversized hardcover collections with glossy print pages for these reproductions, and this Venomnibus is no different. And if you caught it, there is no table of contents in this volume. There are page numbers sporadically as the art allows. I believe the whole volume itself is just shy of 1,100 pages. And particularly if it's still in print at the time of your viewing, you get a lot for the money for this volume. As far as when the issues collected here take place, just about everything in this omnibus comes from the early 90s, and this is a period of time after the character of Venom has kind of sworn off being an exclusive villain of Spider-Man. In fact, in the first miniseries, Lethal Protector, it reiterates the fact that Spider-Man and Venom have a loose truce, which is basically, you stay out of my way, I stay out of your way. And for all intents and purposes, it appears that Eddie Brock, Venom, is trying to be a good guy, trying to be a hero, or at the very least, an anti-hero. The character of Eddie Brock moves back to his hometown of San Francisco and tries to make a life, vowing to protect and save the innocent while punishing the guilty, sometimes with lethal force, allowing for that aptly named miniseries, The Lethal Protector. And I will say, presently, I have only really read Lethal Protector, Funeral Pyre, some of those Silver Sable issues they've mentioned, and in the omnibus, I'm right around the portion where they have the Daredevil issue. So I'm maybe a third into this content-wise. I have never read these issues before, with the exception of maybe that Iron Man issue when I was growing up. But effectively, I'm a blank slate. I've read a lot of the early Venom comics, like the Birth of Venom era, some of the early fights with Spider-Man, or the creation of Carnage, kind of those issues. But I've really never read a standalone Venom work other than when I reviewed King in Black last year. So this is something really new to me, and I'm kind of hoping to brush up on my Venom series before I dive into, hopefully, the Venom Cate's Stegman Omnibus that they're supposed to be releasing later this year. I've heard that run's fantastic. I love what they did with King in Black, so I want to delve further into the origins of this character, and I've already read the origin and some of when he fights Spider-Man, but to have his own solo stuff in the form of these miniseries, this is basically brand new to me, and it's pretty eye-opening already. I think in general why I haven't read most of these issues is, as a rule, I have largely stayed away from 90s comics, primarily because of the artwork, which as a broad strokes generalization I have not liked in the past. However, after reading some Silver Surfer earlier this year, and now looking through this collection, there's actually some absolutely stunning work. I don't know where my judgment came from for that 90s art, because a lot of what I see represented in this volume is gorgeous. Yes, it's a little bit frenetic and action-packed, but it's easy to follow, rich in detail, and stunning. And, now that I'm thinking about it, I did read the Venom Ben Reilly issues back when I used to have the Clone Saga. Anyway, let's move on. I think what's interesting about the Venomnibus compared to some of the other omnibus collections I have is that this isn't a Venom solo title. He didn't have that yet. Most of this book is a collection of Venom miniseries, which is how Venom kind of existed outside of the pages of Spider-Man in the early days. I think that why that's more interesting to me is that a lot of these miniseries have a different creative team, so we don't have a huge run on a self-titled series with the same folks over and over again. Even though there is some double dip, I believe, in creative teams, we have instead these distinct storylines across a couple issues each miniseries from these creators that have a really pointed story to tell. I think why that's also really great is it's easier to say, hey, I didn't maybe like that story, but there's a whole nother group of people with a fresh take right next. And I like that. I do think that that can make it feel a bit inconsistent, as opposed to when you have a singular vision and a complete run from a creative team. But there are real perks here. Having already read, like I said, just a few of those miniseries, I get vastly different versions of this antihero. And I like it. I like the look of it. I like the voice of it that I'm encountering throughout some of these different creators. I think why it also feels very fresh and fun to me is because this is a decade of comics I'm only now really exploring as I've kind of made my way through a lot of 80s comics lately. I get to see the medium develop. I get to see the emergence of all of these new talents, new art styles, new narrative voice structures within the comics media. And so it feels decidedly different from a lot of what I've read. And I know some of you might have read these as they came out, or you've read 90s comics most of your life, maybe. But to me, someone who hasn't really delved into this decade, it's something fresh. And who knows, maybe there are a few of you out there that are in my same boat. Another thing I find interesting, as a fan of these comic book movies and TV series just in general, I will say I had very interesting thoughts on the Venom movies that have come out, one a few years ago, and then the sequel, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I think my takeaway initially was that Tom Hardy and Venom's kind of incarnations were very quirky, to say the least. I'm not used to seeing Eddie Brock as someone who is kind of odd. I'm used to him being kind of the muscle-bound journalist, sort of introspective, brute, but not necessarily a very odd, socially weird kind of guy. But I think what's interesting is because a lot of what I've read of Venom comes from the early, when Venom's a villain, kind of one-dimensional versions of Venom, I think reading these miniseries of Venom, where he's the primary lead character that we get to delve into, I do see some of the quirk. Maybe not the Eddie Brock social awkwardness, as much as the kind of joking relationship we are Venom aspect of it all, and it kind of made me feel like those interpretations are a little bit truer, at least with their depiction of Venom himself, even if there's still a bit of an Eddie Brock problem. And I like that. I like that reading more from these roots of Venom's character, it led to a better lens by which to view some of those movies, at least in my opinion. I'm still not pitching Oscars at them personally, but hey, I had fun. I was entertained at the end of the day. Now I just wanted to say, you've had a chance to see some of the varied art styles throughout this book, and isn't it just fantastic? I love the way we get to see Venom, always kind of his drooling, long-tongued, sharp-teeth version. But some of these people draw him so puffed up and bulky. Some people it's bulky, but maybe a little more, I hesitate to use the word realistic, but compared to some of the bulk you see in some incarnations. But yeah, I mean, it's just great work. I think the panel layout is still pretty straightforward. But it does convey a sense of motion and action in a way that I did not see previous to the 90s, I would say, in a lot of these comics. So that's been fun. I look forward to reading throughout the rest of this volume. As I mentioned, I'm maybe a third of my way through it, but I plan on finishing it. I plan on making my way through. I have to ask, have any of you read the Venomnibus Volume 1? I know also there's a Venomnibus Volume 2 and 3 at the time of the recording, but those two I know are out of print. But hey, if I like this, I might wait for the reprints. I'd be curious from you in the comments, have any of you read those subsequent omnibuses or what's collected within? Let me know how those are. I've heard mixed reviews on the sequels to this. Another novelty to having this Venomnibus is the fact that this is kind of a spin-off. This is a side character that was created as a villain in a Spider-Man book, and he became his own anti-hero, can support his own series and legacy and franchise throughout the years. And it's so fun. I love, on my shelf, having the origin of Venom right next to this standalone set of his early miniseries. It's so fun. And I think that the character has really evolved, even by this point. I'm only kind of vaguely aware that he was created and adjacent to Spider-Man in the first place. Yes, I see him kind of do his goo web slinging still, and yes, every so often there is kind of mention or overlap with Spider-Man and his power set and things like that. But there's enough going on with the symbiote and the goo and the eating and the tongue and the muscles that this feels like such a departure from its source material in a great way. I get to see this character evolve, both in and out. And frankly, I'm just having a blast so far. And that's going to bring us to the end of our unboxing. This was a massive tome of a book, and I am absolutely eager to finish out the rest of my read through. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give me a like and comment so I can hear from you and what you thought about this unboxing. Have you read Venom? I'd love to know these things. And on your way out, please consider subscribing and maybe even hitting that bell icon so you can be notified every time I drop a new piece of content. And until next time, my name as always is Dominic, and this has been the Comic Book Report. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, have a good one.